Attention, please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
I kind of compare it to like a Dark Knight almost.
Mm-hmm.
In some regards.
So you can tear it apart.
Yeah.
Nerd On.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need, but you deserve, and where all levels of nerd are welcome.
In Wakanda.
In Wakanda.
For Wakanda.
For Wakanda.
I would just like to start things off by saying, Wakanda Forever!
Wakanda Forever!
Feeling it.
Wow. So if you haven't guessed, we are talking Black Panther, but something we keep forgetting. We keep saying who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Josh.
Ollie.
Corey.
Tom.
Tom.
And we are Nerd On.
We are Nerd On. But we are talking Black Panther.
Yes.
Ta-da.
3 white guys and an Asian guy dissect what could be one of the biggest cultural phenomenons for the black
I think it's the
community.
blackest movie this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll see Regal in Time.
Appropriately came out in February.
Yes.
In Black History Month.
Directed by Mr. Ryan Coogler.
Tom's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
There is some shade.
Tom's
There's
arch
not any
nemesis.
shade. There's appreciation. Okay, I'm gonna say it like this. Corey, one of Corey's biggest idols in the celebrity world is Mr. Donald Glover.
Okay.
Very talented man. Poignant because I would have wanted him to be in Black Panther, but he's playing another role in the MCU, which is great too. Comedian, singer, actor, writer, producer, all that stuff. Show creator. Ryan Coogler came from my college, my
Your
school,
alma mater.
my alma mater, Alma, and Sacramento State. Stingers up, and shout out to Sac State. And I met him. And I asked, I told him I was a young, up-and-coming filmmaker, director, and I really appreciated. I was at the screening for Fruitvale Station, his first feature-length film.
Great movie.
And I met him. I shook his hand. I was like, hey, I'm blah, blah, blah. I took all the same professors you've taken. What's some advice for me that you can help me out with? And he so very solemnly and shortly said, always be macking for what you're passionate for. And I was like, cool.
I'm sorry. Always be mackin'?
Always be macking for what you're passionate for.
Okay.
I was like, cool.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there was a little bit of Oakland lingo in there.
Hashtag words to live by.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny because a lot of featurettes with him talked about that. It's like, as long as you're always you're always working towards your passion, you'll always find a way. And so for me, as a young kid, I was very not happy with it because it's I would have liked maybe an email or something give me a 5-step solution or something like that. But
It's not always that easy.
yeah,
It's not.
I have to take it with an altruistic, positive, intentional grain of salt.
Did you bring up Donald Glover because
Because he's
my
super
favorite,
talented. You favorite, and the
I
thing
get
is
angry sometimes because of how talented he is.
well, the thing is I hate Ryan Coogler in the fact of he has a career that I admire. He has a career that I would have wanted for someone that's so closely 1 degree
Make a
away.
couple of small films and then be given Black Panther. Yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't think Creed was a small movie.
Creed wasn't small, but Fruitvale was kind of, it was an amazing movie, but it wasn't
I mean, the fact of the matter is Ryan Coogler is talented. He's an inspired and passionate filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I would like to be revered as. And I hate him because it's God, you're so good.
That's how I feel.
And,
to quote one of my favorite comedians, I wish I did anything as good as Donald Glover does everything.
Yeah.
And
I get it, Tom.
I think with Ryan Coogler, and we'll explore this, I'm sure, a little bit more.
Yeah.
He definitely has something to say.
Of course.
He's got some messages.
But before we get into that, we'll get into the subject matter of the Black Panther.
So it's chapter 6 of phase 3, is from what I understand.
Is that what that's called?
Wow.
That's what I heard.
I just know we're in phase 3.
I just know it's phase 3 too. But
Coming to the end.
I guess chapter 6. Right before
That's what I read on the interwebs.
Interwebs. Okay. I didn't realize we do these in chapters. Could you imagine a manuscript of, and then chapter 7, and then it's this entire movie script. But yeah, Black Panther came out, part of the biggest installment of the MCU yet, and quote unquote, as every critic and Rotten Tomatoes will say, best MCU movie yet.
Yeah, of course.
Because they'll always say that about every movie.
Well, what Rotten Tomatoes says, that's
it's 100%
that's law.
It's what matters. So, initial reactions. What do we all think about the movie? The film?
I really loved it. When I saw him in Civil War, I instantly knew I wanted more of him. Chadwick has this really, I'm gonna quote my wife here. She put it really well. This really grounded energy that he brings to the character that I think is really fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
Still waters run deep.
Yeah.
Ever since what he said to Steve Rogers in the truck that was transporting them to that station, he was like, now as a king, and it's like now as a warrior, it's like, what chances do you have to save your friend? And I was like, oh, he's gonna kill Winter Soldier. But I mean, like ever since then, like it was really cool. Like I mean, like everyone knows Mark Millar's Civil War. Like it's this big existential crisis for Peter Parker to pick sides between Captain America and Iron Man. And at first when Civil War was announced, Sony and Marvel hadn't talked about any collaboration or anything like that. And when they announced it that Civil War was going to happen, they were going to announce that Black Panther was going to be it. They made T'Challa kind of become the filled position of Spider-Man, where Captain America wanted, like they made a little funny stints, like Captain America's like, oh, he's gonna be on my team, and then Robert Downey Jr. is like, oh, no, he's gonna be on my team. They're like mine. So it's kind of like, oh, maybe he will replace the Spider-Man
Fill
character.
that role.
Which kind of I feel like, I think is cool because Marvel has said like now they're not gonna have any more origin films. When you have the big movies, those are going to be kind of your fill-in for origin film.
Yeah.
Because you introduce the character for very little bit and kind of get to know like a little bit about it. And then the sequel, the first movie they get to be in, you kind of actually start out with the sequel. The character's already established.
You essentially get to go straight into Empire.
Yeah, you could go into, you could start playing with the characters. So I very much enjoyed this film for what that was. And in actually some ways, I kind of compare it to like a Dark Knight almost. In some regards.
So you can tear it apart.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'll have some qualms, but yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I feel the same. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, every little bit of it. I mean, it's not a perfect film, but I think it does so well with sort of the subject matter that it has, and can take something. We always hear things about like how comic books transcend, their medium and kind of drive forward, social issues, things like that, like the mutants and diversity and all that stuff. And I think this really is. It's interesting that it's a comic book movie, but in many ways, I think it kind of pushes forward a lot of like societal issues, and it's interesting to have it come out in this climate. But I just loved it. Like the music was good, the acting was solid.
Yeah, the music was really
directing was awesome.
To that point, I think that's why we were always so drawn to hero stories, and everyone could say to their to the top of their lungs of how the market's so saturated with hero movies.
Yeah,
but the thing is, like, the reason why heroes did so well back in the 40s and 50s is because those were the times that society needed the heroes the most. There was a lot of radical movements going on. There was wars overseas and stuff like that. Now we're in this place in this era of like transition where we're thinking differently, and we're having to put new things in perspective. So we need to kind of translate our feelings and what we imagine to be a champion of the people for the people.
And I think it's accomplishing now what like Captain America did in World War II times, where it's like it just brings you that hope and brings you that sort of vision for change and the future of what that could look like.
Well, because they're more than just superhero movies.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're more than
They're
just,
not wearing hockey pads.
They're not. They absolutely are not.
That's what they're not doing.
To quote another superhero movie, it's an ideal to strive towards.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not just CGI. It's not just craziness. There's a message that is trying to be communicated.
And even on the layer, I guess, below that, before you get into the sort of very high end discussions, I just like that it's a Marvel movie that really does not depend on
the other ones.
I think Guardians of the Galaxy was the last one that I felt that way about. And they could have easily like I'm kind of torn on this, and we'll talk about this more, but like there was no like Infinity Gem.
Well, and the cool thing, I watched it twice before today, and there weren't any like Easter eggs really.
Right.
Like there's like the little bits before like Civil War, but that is part of the exposition. It tells you like what's happened. And I mean, some people could say
it's his origin, quote unquote.
They showed like the explosion, and then there was the after credits scene that was like the only real connections to.
But they use it in a formulaic way, so you can kind of infer what's happening in the scene that you shoot.
Yeah.
But there was no like, Spider-Man spider web behind anybody. There wasn't any weird Captain America shield prototype in the background or something like that.
Yeah.
There's no mentioning of another superhero somewhere, which was crazy because I felt like if there was a place to do that, Wakanda would have been that place because we'll talk a little bit more about comic book history in a little bit. But yeah, that would have been a place to expand the Marvel universe on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I loved it. When I first, it was Civil War that they introduced Black Panther. I had, of course, heard of Black Panther, the character, but I hadn't really read anything or knew anything about the story of Black Panther. And so it was like, oh, kind of, this guy's a badass.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Really cool.
In some ways, he's sometimes compared to Batman in ways.
Yeah.
Just because he's got tech and in other iterations of him, he's had a
Super smart.
He's had cape. He's had this Dracula cape.
Like the collar popped and everything.
Yeah.
But
he's got he's got a PhD in physics from Oxford. The character himself.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see an extension of it and to see the story and to find out a little bit more about the world because I didn't know
in his
much.
World.
Yeah, his world and Wakanda and getting into those and it's led me to start kind of looking a little bit more into the character and this is really cool but I mean all of the actors I really love. I mean, I think that's a really great way to put it that Chadwick Boseman, he just has this, I like watching him in anything that he does. I mean, he's what's funny if you look at his IMDb, he's done a lot of biopics and he's so good at what he does.
Some of you may know the other pronunciation is biopic.
Biopic.
Biopic or biopic?
He did a biopic. And
Jackie Robinson, right?
Yeah, Jackie Robinson. Get On Up, Marshall. I mean, he's done several, and he's just super good. Michael B. Jordan, I've liked him.
Killer. He's really grown as an actor.
Yeah, he really has.
To quote a meme, 2 for 2 Human Torches have been redeemed by the MCU. So.
Yeah.
He's really come. I mean, he's worked on his craft over the last few years.
Yeah,
he's really this role especially. I found myself being like, damn, Michael B. Jordan is killing it.
Also, I mean. So for me, I come from watching the career of Ryan Coogler very intensely.
That's his boy, right?
Seeing that's Ryan Coogler's go-to. He was the lead in Fruitvale, he was the lead in Creed, and he was the co-star, kind of lead because I kind of felt like his performances were more dynamic than Chadwick was.
Yeah.
It was a very transformative performance.
Yeah,
he had to be. He had to be the if Chadwick is the grounded, calm energy, he had to be that fire.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings your Dark Knight parallels a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, I loved it.
Lupita was great.
Yeah, Letitia Wright, who was his younger sister, she stole the
Stole the
show
show,
for
for
me.
sure.
I mean, she was hilarious. I just loved
Circus was
watching
pretty entertaining to watch too.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis is always. I mean, getting to see, like you said before we started recording, Bilbo and Gollum get a scene in there.
The token
White guys. Yeah. I also just love the I forget what the elite team is called. The Dora.
I don't know.
Milaje or something like
Yeah.
that. The chosen ones, the Dark Angels, whatever they are.
Midnight Angels.
Midnight Angels. That's
Midnight
what it is.
Angels.
So badass.
Yeah.
The general.
Yeah.
She was one
killed
of my
it.
favorites. Yeah.
Killed the game.
Danae Gurira. I'm sorry
Guerrera, I think.
I mean, she's best known for Walking Dead. As Michonne.
Oh, okay. That's where I recognize.
really?
Okay, honestly, I couldn't recognize. I was like, I've
Guess,
seen her, but I love her.
Take it back. Not known at all.
No, she kicked all the ass. I mean,
No, yeah, she was
her
like
fight scenes with that spear.
And
When
then
she
the part of the
flipped the
chase,
car with
the chase, yeah, exactly, with the car,
Through
with
the
the spear
spear.
goes through. I was like, my God,
She put it through the back window, front window, had it land and flipped the car. Was the most badass thing in that whole movie.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, we'll get to favorite parts in a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's do a brief comic book history of it.
Yeah.
Teach
me, Tom.
Which I thought was really cool that they did that. It reminded me, and talking about, I guess, like the important topics of like the movie and the cultural relevance. Like, I feel like there kind of has to be a conversation when we're talking about society and the grander whole of things. Like Black Panther and Wonder Woman, the representation idea. Women director, women, cinematographer, woman, costume designer for Wonder Woman, and then the same thing with this film. there's a huge bit of representation in the myths that get broken because of it. But But
also, I just want to add to that because it's almost Ryan Coogler. I know that he had like Creed and Fruitvale Station, and I mean, this is a lot of responsibility handed to. I mean, Creed was great, but it wasn't like oh my God, it's one of those. I mean, he brought on his cinematographer, he brought in his composer. I mean, it's very cool that he was given this opportunity.
He was given $200 million, which is the most that any like black direct filmmaker has been given.
And
that's crazy.
Go have fun.
Yeah. and see look what happens, guys. Look what happens when you have faith in the filmmaker and you don't have to intervene every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You're right.
So the reason I compare Black Panther and Wonder Woman is because they both opened in a very similar way, where they had the origin story take place, and for the most part, it was pretty well done. Like a vibranium meteorite hit, and that pretty much created like the foundations of Wakanda and things like that.
That beginning animation,
yeah, it was badass.
Beautiful.
So essentially, the first ever superhero.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't think it was. I mean, superhero more of a champion of the people, but yeah, it served the purpose to protect Wakanda and protect the mountain of ore, aka vibranium. And a little bit tidbit of facts. Vibranium is in Captain America's shield. In canon comic book universe, it's also a combination of vibranium alloy and adamantium, which is Wolverine's claws.
Which is the strongest metal.
The strongest metal. So vibranium, in the movie, I think they went a little bit beyond it, because at first in its iteration was supposed to be just a sound absorbing alloy.
Yeah.
So it can, withstand concussive blasts and things like that and absorb it. Later on, they, went on further and further with the suit and all that stuff, how like, if it got shot with like a 50 caliber sniper rifle, the sniper like bullet wouldn't bounce off. It would just stop in its track because the suit would absorb the kinetic energy.
Right.
So that's like kind of like the really crazy thing about vibranium. But a little bit of difference between the movie and in the comic book world, like at least in the now Marvel Legacy version of it, which is now typically the canon, where
his powers are a little different.
And when he was able to challenge, when King T'Chaka, his father, died, he was too young to become the Black Panther, and he actually had to get it from his uncle. And his uncle wasn't like in the way that they showed in the movie, which is shout out to Sterling Brown.
Yeah.
He was so
amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
But it was just done a little differently, which I thought, again, the literary freedom liberties, writing liberties that you take when you're adapting the source material.
Artistic liberties.
That's the
there
word.
it is.
I thought that was just well done. I was really interested. I was like, oh, it's gonna be what's gonna happen? Is there gonna be like a Lion King? Is there gonna be a Scar thing going on? But I was like, oh,
kinda.
no. Kind of, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was not more like
his cousin.
Yeah.
Simba. When he was having his
which Donald Glover's in, by the way.
Yeah.
Donald Glover's Simba. Does everything.
Anyway,
in the comic books, the War Dogs kind of serve more of like Black Panther's like guards, and then the Midnight Angels are more of like another elite guard separate of him. So he has multiple units of them. He has more of a relationship with Storm from the X-Men.
Well, in one timeline, they got married.
Yeah. But I think that all has been rewritten right now. I loved that version of it. But
and for those of you who don't know, he has in the comics he has a heightened sense of smell, heightened strength, heightened agility.
Makes him pretty much like a panther.
Right.
Pretty much like a panther.
Right.
Think like almost like Wolverine.
Yeah.
okay.
So I mean, and
A little more calm.
in the heart-shaped herb it wasn't kind of like found by the god Bast. It was actually more affected by the vibranium, since the vibranium was like influencing the land and stuff like that. So,
and they kind of touch on that in the movie. They say it affected plant life.
Yeah. So, I mean, most part, it's pretty similar to it. I think it did a pretty good adaptation of it, but I think that kind of could bring us into like a brief idea of the movie just in general.
I mean, obviously at this point, if you're listening, you've had a few, but spoilers.
Yes.
Spoilers, spoilery.
Spoiler.
Yeah, we're not a review show. We just like talking about cool shit.
Yeah.
So here we go.
So coming off from the events from Civil War, King T'Chaka has passed away. So now Prince T'Challa must take up the mantle of Black Panther. It opens up with one of the first sequences where He rescues his future love interest.
His ex, technically.
His ex. It was a past love interest, which I thought was
Past and
cool.
future.
Yeah, because you didn't have to do the whole introduction thing that I talked about before, but you could already have this tension. You could already just draw from that and give them a character Bible they can do that with. But pretty much it's just the, I guess, coming of age-ish story that he has to now take upon this mantle and become a good king. Here comes Claw, longtime villain of Wakanda who's stolen vibranium, and huge comic book villain of Wakanda. And then comes Eric Killmonger, where Eric Killmonger is now going to challenge T'Challa to take the throne. It's revealed that Killmonger is his blood cousin, so it isn't within his royal right to take it.
Yeah.
He wins in ceremonial battle, and
Well, he doesn't.
well,
He thinks he does.
Thinks he does. Presumes.
Yeah. Pokemon fainted, didn't really die.
Yeah.
But, and then
Off
takes
nurse
over
Joy.
Wakanda and all its resources, and then tries to wage out war throughout
On the world.
On the world, utilizing colonization techniques that he learned when he was in special forces by using vibranium weapons. The movie's very much highly revolved around the secrecy of vibranium, the secrecy of Wakanda, and all of its secrets. But also battling the tensions of needing to help out the world because the world is quote unquote getting smaller. Technology is catching up to Wakanda. And it's going to be a battle between the conquered and the conquerors. And then at the very end, Black Panther takes back his power, T'Challa, and then beats Eric Killmonger and
Tries to save him.
and then starts the beginning steps of what is Iron Man 1. Revealing his identity to the world. And
Black
What do
Panther.
you have to offer the world?
who this your ship? Who are you? I am Iron Man. But and then he ends up opening up the embassies that his sister Shuri could
In
start
the
running.
same building his uncle passed away in.
Yeah.
And that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
And then here we are. So I hope you enjoyed that synopsis. If you didn't, go watch the movie.
Please go watch the movie if
Go
you
watch the
haven't
movie.
yet. It's
Use that movie pass.
It's utterly fantastic.
It
Yeah.
really is. Start to finish.
I think it was a very important movie right now, just with the climate of the world, or the U.S. mainly.
Yeah.
I think it was something that we, as a society, really needed, like now, like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to get too political right off the bat.
Right.
I mean, let's be political. Let's go a little far. But I mean, one thing that really stuck out to me, it's like you really can't talk about like black films and I say black because something that I think really spoke out to me recently when I was watching actually Atlanta, and I was seeing Donald Glover talk about like how a lot of cultural identity was destroyed because of the fact that they were forcibly moved from Africa to America. So,
Colonized, yeah.
yeah. And that's why I say a lot of black. And the thing is that Ryan Coogler, and I'll quote him, he says, like, I make my movies because I'm proud of my blackness and I make black films.
Mhm.
And so with this film, I can't help but think about Black Lives Matter, right?
Mhm.
And one thing I really did love was that one thing that really broke T'Challa when he was talking to, I forget the name of the love interest, is like Nakaya. And he says, he's like, he says he didn't even get a proper burial.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that really matters. Like death. The cool thing I love about movies is death happens. It shows that the stakes are there. But when death happens, it's significant and it matters. And
Yeah.
people mourn over the fact that people die. Like when one of the Midnight Angels gets her throat sliced by Killmonger. It's like it's a pretty like, oh crap moment.
Yeah.
It shows that one, that they will lose against him. Two, that only one dies, so like the Midnight Angels aren't useless. But three, that life also is like they could die and they still have that honor for each other.
They're badass, but they're not
immortal.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
Well, I think it's also like using it to speak to a lot of other like political issues that are going on right now with like the White House and all that stuff. Like I really like the speech at the end. It's time to like build bridges,
in
not
troubling
not
times,
barriers.
wise men build bridges, and foolish men build.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like them just revealing themselves to the world kind of slowly or whatever. I think that goes a long way. And it was interesting. I was looking at like online discussions, things like that. And I think there's a couple people who like compared this movie to Roots, As in, like, Roots back then was like one of the first movies to really talk about like slavery and like bring up that topic and topic of discussion and make it so people don't have to be like worried or hesitant to talk about those issues. And so it's not like a taboo topic anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, Black Panther kind of does that to an extent as well.
Yeah.
With some of the other kind of social issues going on today. So I think in that sense, it's a really important movie. I'm very happy that it got made right now.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for kind of, it's just such a multifaceted like success.
Yeah.
In my
What kind of new standard it's going to set?
In a funny, interesting way, and I think it had to be this way. You could definitely, the one Marvel connection you have to social issues is Magneto and Xavier being Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One wants equality through peace and diplomacy, and the other wants to force it because they believe they are the superior race and things like that. And you get that same parallel between Killmonger and T'Challa, where they both want the same thing. They both want to share their discoveries in the world and both want to help the world around them. But one was raised in violence, and another one had nothing but raised in their culture and peace, and is trying to make the past Black Panthers and Kings proud. And one cool power that isn't mentioned in the movie is that he actually had, what happens when you go to the astral plane, when you eat the heart-shaped herb, you gain the knowledge of all past kings. So like to have that experience, but also be raised in the time that T'Challa lives in, that could only mean one thing, is kind of like a humanitarian globalization.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of what leads into that one mid-credit scene.
And I really liked what is it? Eric Killmonger's like what was his last line?
His last line said, "Death is better than bondage." Like,
well, he said, "Bury me at sea."
It's like bury me at sea,
where my ancestors jumped ship.
Because they knew that death was better than bondage.
Yeah, and I think part of that message is like,
this isn't a Disney movie, by the way.
Right, a Disney movie, which
movie.
is the best part. I think what the message is trying to put out there is that we shouldn't be held back by that thing that happened back then. Like more representative of like what T'Challa is kind of standing for, which is like in a powerful leadership position, and like inspiring the next generation to move forward and to kind of grow past and grow beyond kind of the troubles of their ancestors and of their,
but also not forgetting where you came from.
Exactly, right.
But,
and I think that kind of shows the difference between like Killmonger's approach to things and T'Challa's approach.
One thing that you mentioned that you loved was the music.
Yeah.
Every time he's in the astral plane and that music comes and plays, where someone would die or something like that, it's like just heightened by the violin that comes in.
Yeah.
And then when T'Challa goes into the astral plane for the second time and sees his father and the rest of the kings before him, and he says like, "Why did you leave that boy?" It's like, we created this is a monster of our own creation. And then he screams on the top of his lungs. He says like, "You were wrong for that." And I was just like, this is great. And the thing that I love about it is because T'Challa realizes that Killmonger, and again, everyone at home listening, think of it more than just a film.
Yeah.
Think of it more than just a film. Think of the argument of social like issues and conversations. Is like, you're wrong to put your backs behind and leave that child there with no hope and nothing there. And he says, "I must right these wrongs." And to your point, where it's kind of like T'Challa has this big heart. And it's hard for him, and his heart's breaking throughout the entire thing because he knows that Eric Killmonger is 100% justified for everything he's doing.
Yeah.
But it's just not the right way to do it.
Not the right way.
And it's a really sad thing. And the one thing we won't get into qualms yet, but that's the one thing I really wish would have happened is like, instead maybe T'Challa was imprisoned or something like that, and then Killmonger and them like had more of a conversation.
They had more of a conversation.
Because I really would have wanted them to hit a little bit harder on the note of like, he has to kill his own flesh and blood.
Yeah, it kind of dipped into my qualms with Dark Knight Rises, where it's like he just disappears and doesn't interact with him for half the movie.
Yeah.
And then comes back at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I completely agree with that.
I'm kind of curious, and this is something that I've always thought about with any of our superhero movies or anything that comes with, it has some source material, obviously. And of course, we've talked about how this is merely just a run of something. Do you ever feel like they take something from the source material, like a villain or something like that, or even a good guy or a hero or whatever? Do you ever feel that they waste it?
No.
Like,
so yeah,
it's like,
sometimes-
oh, you,
yeah,
you
I
could
can
have.
see that.
I feel like
Sometimes,
okay,
yeah.
okay. The answer, the correct answer is yes and no. Sometimes they do great things with it. Sometimes they
Yeah.
waste it. Like
Hell yeah.
to me, Mandarin and Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, wasted.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a miscasting, and they shouldn't have just gone with the Mandarin route. They should have just done another villain. Because Ben Kingsley, I love, and there's some people who will fight, till the cows come home of like why that was a great move. I feel like Ben Kingsley deserves more than just being like a
An
comical
actor.
relief.
Yeah.
But I mean, with this movie, a lot of people were worried about the Njabu tribe, the ones that outcasted themselves, because that becomes the main guy becomes a villain, and it's like the white ape. And it's like, how are you going to
Yeah.
put that in a movie? Like, how are you going to put the Mandarin, a Chinese dude with the Fu Manchu with these rings in a movie and not be offensive?
Yeah.
And you have this, the blackest Marvel movie of all time, and then you're going to have a villain be like a white monkey
And somebody,
and not be racially.
I was
slurred.
reading because
Right.
I don't know anything about it. This Killmonger was kind of an amalgamation of Killmonger and White Wolf,
Mhm.
kind of the aspects of the character.
Which is interesting why at the post-credit scene where they have Winter Soldier be called the White Wolf. Because it's kind of like he takes in that place.
yeah.
White Wolf.
And I think...
I don't know
Point.
what these. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe it's Michael B. Jordan, maybe it's the character, maybe it's a little bit of both and what he brought. I really loved
Mhm.
Killmonger. I
Mhm.
really just thought that his story was very interesting. His violence and his anger and all that was, I think you said, where it's like T'Challa can look at it and go, okay, yeah, you have a reason to be angry. We
Mhm.
left you behind, and it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's like, I really wanted more of him.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I guess my question is it's like, do you ever feel like, okay, this is one of those times where I'm like, oh man, I didn't want him to die. I wanted to see something happen with him.
I think what you're kind of maybe starting to peck at
Yeah.
is like the whole classic like Marvel doesn't have good villains thing
Yeah.
that's going around, and like we finally got another really good villain, and then he's gone. So like now we're just back to like just Loki.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
in some ways, I felt like he was brutal. But the thing, he was likable and eccentric and charismatic as much as Loki, Tom Hiddleston plays him as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like there was this rawness about him where it's like he executed. When his Bonnie and Clyde partner is held to the gun and Claw has a gun to her and she's like, I'm sorry. He's like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay, and shoots her, and just like boom, he just executes. And it's like when you find out that he is military mindset, and during the ceremonial battle, he takes off his shirt and you see all the scars on his body.
For each kill.
Yeah, for every kill, and he's like talks about every country he's killed, and he's like, I've killed brothers and sisters in this continent, and then it's like, oh my god, this guy is.
Well, that's the thing. Like his stakes were really high.
Yeah.
And I think if he didn't die, I feel like it wouldn't have been as poignant of like a character,
A lesson.
and a lesson, and like
for T'Challa too, like
for T'Challa, and like for kind of what he represented.
Because he was like Killmonger, he was like, well, he's right. We should be spreading our knowledge. We should be bringing what we have to the world. Not in the way that Killmonger wanted to do it, but
Right.
let's
The right way. He's got a
the
point.
right way.
I mean, that's the thing about a good villain is that you should relate to the villain. No villain that's worth its salt should be someone you immediately go, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Like there should be something you relate to. And I think with Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger, that's something that I found myself being like, after we find out that he's that kid and that was his dad, like I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of like got a point to
Yeah.
it. And
You
like,
find yourself conflicted.
there's a part of you that's like, when he says, put your weapons down and we can resolve this another way. You're like, do it, man. You guys would be so good together.
It would be so good.
So, but I agree 100% with what you're saying. Is I wanted more of him as well, but
yeah.
knowing
I wasn't
his
trying to bring up a
mindset-
qualm. It was more of a question of like
No, I think it's fine.
the way Marvel handles.
It's good
Well,
conversation.
So I mean, the conversation about that is Ryan Coogler had the help of writing this film. So I mean, he didn't do it all of himself, but the idea of writing this character, this version of Killmonger, starts to transcend superhero movies, I think. When I talk about transcending, I'm talking about The Dark Knight. And I don't think The Dark Knight is The Dark Knight's limited when you call it a superhero movie, because I think it's a drama, it's a noir, it's everything. It's a lot of things in one thing, but it's wrapped up in superhero. And this movie almost became more. I think it had a lot of conversations that transcended out of it. But the thing that Marvel's creed, Marvel's mantra is that we make superhero movies, not super villain movies. And that's why that's their golden defense of like, that's why our villains aren't ever going to be as good as our heroes. And that's why movies like Civil War come out where the villains are the heroes. Yeah. But I think that's what happens, I think. And I mean, in cases where it's like where there's a Loki or there's another villain that is alive at the end of it, it's kind of like, well, why couldn't this one? And I think to Ali's point where it's like, you'd wish it could. I mean, some parts of me wish like, yeah, they maybe could have just imprisoned him. But the thing is like, what
it turned into a Negan situation where he is imprisoned and then there starts to be a bond between other characters and he kind of redeems himself. And so I'm totally linking to another.
Like, that would have actually, I think it would have hurt the messaging where like his whole like final line of not wanting to be in in chains or whatever, and then you throw him.
But do we want it from a plot sense? Yeah, it'd be fun to see what would happen. Yeah. But
it just wouldn't have. But like the way it was written, I don't think it would have.
But I mean, also like mentioning past episodes, our Blade Runner episode, and Corey mentioned how in the original Blade Runner how we loved the main villain in there because when he does die, but he does make some valuable points, but they have to die. Because imagine the social context and the ideology of the king imprisoning his cousin. Like, but then think of it in the, another Wakandan imprisoning another Wakandan for trying to fight for Wakandan freedom.
Yeah.
So it's like,
which is like, I think the opposite, interestingly, is true for like The Dark Knight. Like Joker could not have died.
Yeah.
And like, because like he's supposed to be the yin to Batman's yang for eternity.
Yeah. We're supposed to do this for forever. Yeah.
This dance forever.
Yeah.
And and so in that sense, with Dark Knight, they could not have killed off Joker, which they worked properly. Unfortunately, we were not able to get more Heath Ledger, but
we wanted it.
Black magic.
So, I mean, let's think about like the MCU and talk about a little bit of post-credit scenes now.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about the end scene with Mr. White Wolf, a.k.a. Plastic Vodka, a.k.a. a Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan, a.k.a. young Mark Hamill. AKA.
Well, just real quick, I mean, Marvel is getting into a new habit where they're doing two scenes. Not a new habit. It's been around for the past few, where you have one that's
mid-credit,
and then post-credit. It used to be just like the end
just
credit.
The post.
And now we have where there's some movies, it's kind of a filler, kind of a comic bit. And then sometimes it's oh shit.
Some have Howard the Duck. Some of them have, I'm going to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative.
And the middle one is, of course, like it's just an extension of like
playing on a Game Boy.
It's like a resolution scene that didn't like finish natural, like let the film finish naturally.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, we have to get this exposition scene out.
And then now to the Bucky scene. Sorry.
So now we know that he's probably going to get a vibranium arm, and that he's cured of any type of Red Skull Hydra programming because of vibranium. And the funny thing about vibranium, this is going to be a little comic.
That's the
vibranium is becoming just a MacGuffin. It's just what moves the plot. Hey, how'd you vibranium? Don't worry about vibranium.
And everybody goes, oh, okay.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's the Ex Machina for.
But
like,
how did
everything.
Red Skull come? Vibranium. But how did vibranium? Don't worry about it. So that's there. The next Marvel film now is going to be Avengers Infinity War, or is it Ant-Man and Wasp?
I think
Infinity War is the next
Infinity
one.
War.
So well, the funny thing, regardless of that, like Spider-Man: Homecoming takes place a little bit after Civil War. But then it's kind of like weird in the timeline. So, I mean, there's some inconsistencies in the MCU, but like we won't know if Ant-Man and the Wasp probably takes place before it. It could take place after Avengers Infinity War. Who knows?
I don't think we've seen any footage of them
in the Avengers.
Any Avengers trailers or anything?
Possibly not.
I don't think so. Not yet.
No. Not
Wait.
Yet. Maybe.
Yeah. No, I don't. Not that I can think of at the top of my head.
By the time this episode comes out, not yet.
No.
So now we're kind of ready to see. We don't know where Steve Rogers is. We haven't seen that growing beard, but we know that Mr. T'Challa is going to get that man a shield.
Yes.
So that looks really dope.
We see also Okoye, who is Denai's character. she's right there running alongside them in the Infinity War trailer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm happy that she's going to be playing a larger role.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, the fact that they're going to include any of the Midnight Angels in there is going to be super dope.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Or I mean, it'd be really cool if you start seeing like the War Dogs in their actual outfits. They look like white version of Black Panthers.
That's
Oh, that's really
baller.
cool.
I was like,
That is cool.
I was like, can you please do me a solid?
Please,
but
can you please
no,
do
it's
that?
cool. I'm a big fan. And one thing I'll say before all the qualms, I love suits. I love seeing multiple versions of suits. But
And I was again with these hero movies, and because I'm an uncultured swine, as we have established, I don't know a lot of the anyway, the background. Long boring story. I mean, reading a bunch of different things of like Letitia Wright's character Shuri. Some people are thinking that that's leading to her being Ironheart.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I don't know who that is.
She takes over for Iron Man. Iron Man goes in a coma, and then she becomes the new Iron Man.
Okay,
Interesting.
And I know that what's her name is supposed to be Malice.
Yeah,
and I was reading that's Nakia.
Yeah.
I was reading that Lupita said that won't be happening. They're gonna.
Well, I mean, also it's kind of like in Thor.
But do they know that? I mean, it's like right now they're saying I'm not going to be that, but they could be like, "Ooh, let's do that. That'll be fun."
I mean, in the Thor movies, just for example, Natalie Portman's character is supposed to become new Thor. She's supposed to be Thor, and then and Thor and Sif, played by Jamie Alexander, who hasn't been in the movies since like the second one, is supposed to be his like OTP, the one true ship. So one true.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't know, and that's the cool thing about this Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's taking a lot from the canon Marvel, and then also from the Ultimate Universe, and then kind of making it something brand new.
So do you think that the last scene, our final credit scene with seeing Bucky, do you think it's really anything like, oh shit, or is it just like, okay, so he's still there, it's just kind of establishing that he's...
I mean, we knew he was in it from the trailers, right?
Yeah,
we saw him running alongside Cap
in an Infinity War that we were like, okay, he's there.
My shout out to my roommate,
but
James.
he's got an arm in the trailer.
Yeah.
That's true.
Probably vibranium. Well, shout out to my roommate James. We just literally coined that Sebastian Stan is the comma for every Marvel movie. He's going to be in every post-credit scene of all time, just because like if he's live, something's going to happen in the next movie.
Meanwhile,
because he was at the end of Winter Soldier, he was the end of Avengers 2, and then he was at the end of this. So it's just like, come on. But I mean, yeah, it just shows one small snippet, and that's a cool thing. Actually, to this point of the show today, the state of the MCU, nothing's really changed. Like it's all was really well kept together in Wakanda, and we can't possibly see a lot of effects change.
Well, a lot more movies are coming out now. Like it used to be like a lot less, I would say, but now if
3
you think
Marvel
of just
films a year.
in the last couple of years, we've had a lot of story be given to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like we did have Civil War, and then we have follow-ups and additions. Like, you know, it's like, oh, BT dub, this is what was happening. This is what happened right after, like on Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's like, hey, remember what happened then?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. And so we have a lot to take in. And so I just think it's interesting that it used to be when you had the final credit scene, it was something like, holy shit,
What's going to happen?
What is going to happen?
Nick
now
Fury
it's just kind of
is stealing this guy's VCR and going to say he's the Avengers, you know. But
and now it's just kind of like it's not as big a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, and I could be completely wrong.
Possibly. I mean, the one thing I love, we're not in love yet, but we're not in love yet. But the weird thing about the MCU right now is just kind of like we haven't seen a lot of lasting worldwide effects through any of the movies. The biggest thing was the fact that the world knew who Iron Man was, and then the world knew who the Avengers were. But then we haven't like with Spider-Man: Homecoming in the opening sequence where you have this like junk crew stealing Chitauri like weaponry. You don't see like the weapons on the black market. You don't see like.
I'm sorry. Explain it. No, explain that a little bit more, because what I'm thinking is like. Even when you're watching the Netflix Marvel series, they mentioned the event.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
but then none of those guys,
the ramifications of like a major event that carries on through multiple movies.
Like one big thing would be Luke Cage having his villain at the end, Copperhead, having Hammer Tech, played by Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
But that was it. There's no one running around with Stark Tech. There's no one running around with Chitauri weapons. There's no one running around. Like, you would think, again, quote unquote, Batman escalation. After these worldwide events have happened, you would think there's vibranium here and there. Like, where's Klaus selling this vibranium?
Yeah.
Where is the vibranium popping
Well,
up?
did you notice that the way that Black Panther's suit, after his sister gives him the new one, activates? It's kind of similar to the way Tony Stark's does in the Infinity War
the
trailer.
bleeding edge armor. Yeah.
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
So,
I think there's a connection there.
well, I think what's probably going to happen is that Iron Man makes his own tech and they're going to have a little pissing contest. Like,
I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
But I mean, you see Tony Stark at the beginning of Civil War talk about like these little glasses that make like your memories come back and all that stuff. But you don't see more tech Stark, because what I'm asking for at this point is like, I want to see like these villains who create their own weaponry and their own stuff like that, where it's like, oh, you are shooting lasers, not just regular bullets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like there are other spaceships and crafts and hovercrafts like that are happening that are as fantastic in the Marvel universe. Because now we've gone to space, we have magic, we have coming back from death, we have, astral projection, we have alien technology, we have spiritualism in it. Like, what more do we need to have like this entire full-fledged Marvel universe? So
Do you think the arrival of the Guardians might provide some of that?
I hope. I mean, like,
I think it's gotta.
with the deal with Disney owning Fox now and Deadpool and everything like that, I hope to the Disney gods, the Mickey Mouse that has the Infinity Gauntlet now of all the studios.
Mickey.
That we get some Latveria action, we get some like Doctor Doom, we get some Namor Submariners, we get the Atlanteans coming, and we actually could have like Wakandans and Latverians, and we could have like Atlanteans like in the middle of these wars. And
I would love like we were talking about because I was talking to my friend about like how cool it would be to like have like Storm just randomly be in the second Black Panther.
I don't remember that conversation. Or was that
Not you. but like have Storm be in the next Black Panther movie. Like, how awesome would that be? And like sprinkling all these other properties throughout. I would love to see like Reed Richards just pop up. He doesn't have to be Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But he can just like invent
He could just be
something.
some guy that works in the Baxter Building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the cool thing,
Well, that's why, I mean, sorry to interrupt real quick. I was going to say, but it's stuff like that. Like the Deadpool trailer for me was a perfect example of why I like stuff where they point out the fact that like, yeah, we're owned by Disney now. So like he's Sheriff Deadpool. And like the fact that, like that little stuff like that shows me that at least some of the writers are willing to kind of be like, let's look at all the properties that we have in our grasp
repertoire.
now.
Yeah.
Right.
So that gave me some hope.
I believe I read that they just got Black Panther back like a few years back. Like, can we just talk about how different a Black Panther movie we would have gotten if Wesley Snipes was?
Yeah.
Because he was gunning for it, right? He
was supposed to be doing it. Yeah. I mean, I loved him as Blade. I mean, I don't think there's anyone that could be a Blade for me other than Wesley Snipes. Like Guillermo del Toro's Blade 2. I love that movie. I absolutely love that movie.
Except he became like a diva and would only talk to the director in notes, signed Blade, and wouldn't come out of his trailer.
I'm not talking about the actor. I'm talking about the portrayal of the character. Okay?
All right, fair enough.
Separate that. If the writer of a comic book is an asshole, but he makes some good ass comics, I still love Frank Miller. So,
wow,
good
not
point.
even gonna walk around it.
So I'm just saying, but that would have been really different. I love the internet's a great place. There's a comic.
It is.
There's a trailer where it shows like what if
Strange place.
every
strange,
comic book
strange
movie
place.
was made by someone from the 80s. And so like you have, Captain America was Patrick Swayze. Spider-Man was Michael J. Fox.
I like that.
And so
I would
like,
watch that.
That was like imagine, like, and that's the cool thing about just your imagination. It's like,
All eyes just
who was
glossed over.
Batman in the
I know.
80s?
It's like,
I don't know.
what is this
Michael
magnificent
Keaton.
Kurt
world he's
Russell.
speaking of?
Wait, no, I'm just kidding.
Timothy Dalton.
Why couldn't
Yeah.
Kevin Feige get gotten born?
I know, earlier.
Gotten born?
Gotten
20.
born.
If his parents would have
Did you
gotten
hear that
busy
story?
earlier.
Did you hear that story about him getting a sandwich pelted at him?
No.
During a meeting with Sony when he tried to like offer to buy back Spider-Man.
Wow.
The guys threw a sandwich at him.
They're like, shut up, we're going to do a Venom trailer with no Venom in it.
This was a while ago. This was before the Amazing Spider-Man stuff. and now they own it. So he's like, whatever.
It's like,
I
well,
don't care.
that's how
The first thing I would have done if I came back to that meeting is like, hey, you left this sandwich last time.
And now look at him.
Oh,
But-
yes.
So I think we can get to
They got Sony by the cojones now.
our love and qualms after, or
man.
qualms
The
and then love.
Gasones.
The Cazones.
Let's do-
let's end positive.
Let's do qualms first.
Kwame Qualms. All right, I got one right off the bat.
All right. No Donald Glover.
I loved no Donald Glover. Next, it's that same thing with Bathos that bugged me.
Bathos.
Whatever. There was one moment they were pretty good about it in this film, not shying away from sentimental things. But there's one moment where they're with the war dogs and they're like, "I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you,"
Oh,
and he
the
goes,
Jabi
"Are
joke.
you done?
Are you done yet?
Are you
Are
done?" And I was like, "Oh, just let them have it, man.
You know,
just let them have their call to arms moment."
So I might actually counter argue and say like I was okay with that.
Yeah.
And this is me who's like, I hate Bathos as much as possible. Like, let the moment be its moment. The reason why I feel okay with that, purely because every time he was in the astral plane and every time he was with his dad was a really hard and solemn moment. When he was, when Killmonger was with his dad in the astral plane, like, it was a solemn moment. When people
Good point.
died, it was solemn moments. I was like, oh,
I
cool.
feel
They're
like
not going
there
to cut
was-
it with a dumb joke.
I thought there was a lot of heaviness to this movie where
Oh, yeah.
there was a lot of, and I appreciated that part about it. If
the emotional
I'm gonna-
depth.
the emotional
weight.
depth, and
Oh, yeah, I
then
loved
to counter with the, I think that's kind of
I think my issue was the moment they
that
decided
particular
to do it.
moment.
Yeah, it was the moment where he's come back from the dead.
His
Yeah.
mom's there, his
yeah.
sister's there, his love's
I would have
there.
been fine.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like I said, I think they did really well with
It was
having
that
sentimental
particular moment. You were like,
that
please give
particular
that to them.
moment where he's coming back from the dead essentially and just being like, let's go fucking get Wakanda back. I wanted to be like, I was in my seat going, yeah, oh, it's a joke. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was my big issue with it.
Okay.
You know what's funny?
And that's my only issue with the film.
I would probably argue that this film has probably more serious moments than most Marvel films.
100%.
Like, and it doesn't get cut because of those kind of moments, but
Yeah.
it did have like one or two because of that guy.
Yeah.
Well, it does what Marvel does really well, which is it has its levity when it needs it and when it matters, and it's just naturally charming. It's a naturally charming movie, and it doesn't have to try very hard to put a smile on your face, which is like the opposite of like DC. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean,
That's another episode.
I mean, in the same vein of that, what are those?
Loved it.
Whip my hair back and forth. I was just kind of like,
I have one question. What are those?
I got it. I get it. It just gave me flashbacks of like Vinnie Jones melting into the floor, and all of a sudden it's like, you think you could stop me? I'm the Juggernaut. I was like, oh God, why did we bring the
I'm the
internet?
Juggernaut, bitch.
Why did we bring the internet into this movie? Like, we didn't need it. I got it. If it hadn't been like exactly.
Remind me.
So this is an X-Men Last Stand with a
No,
Juggernaut.
I'm talking about. what
Oh,
are those?
so Shuri is like,
What are those?
like, because right after like he's pronounced king, he's walking down through the lab and he's
The
got his
meme.
ceremonial sandals.
Oh, the
on.
sandals. Okay, yeah.
And she says,
Yeah,
"What
never
are
mind.
those?"
No, yeah.
And
No.
I'm like, I get it, I got it. It's cool. It would have been nicer if maybe like if they're in Wakanda and the dude with the mouth disc is watching it on his wrist arm. I would have been more cool with that. But then it's like, why? I get it, but, but also she's like juvenile, she's young, and I got it. But like, and when
I
the
called them sneakers.
that was cool. I like that. The sneakers part was fine. The
That was
record.
like 2 minutes later.
But no, it was
30 seconds later.
it was just that. What are those? And that's it. I was like, oh.
and then when she's wearing the wig,
and when she's wearing the wig, I'm
you
like,
can whip it back and forth.
and like, what a disgrace. I was like, okay, cool.
I did like that she threw the wig at someone
yeah,
as a weapon.
of course. She Jackie Chan that
I
wig.
loved that.
But those things I got irritated about, and then moving into a bigger point, my bigger issue is more of a functional, structural issue. I felt like the second act was like a third too short.
Mm-hmm.
And I am one to say I'm totally okay with longer films. I'm rewatching The Godfather as we speak.
Woo!
The trilogy, baby.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
on Netflix.
Numero dos
Trying
forever.
to chill by myself. And I felt like the first act was this long exposition of like, here is the
Here's
culture,
everything,
here's
yeah.
Wakanda, here are the stakes, here are the players. And the second part's like, cool, get the guy, grab the guy, we lost the guy. And then third act was Killmonger's coming in, it's taking over, and then this long thing, which is funny because most action films nowadays have the opposite problem where first act, second act are well balanced, third act is rushed and no one cares, and it's just like a 20-minute fight scene.
Yeah.
This one he was like good 45-minute conversation, planning, long fight, 3 different fight scenes, sequences.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I felt it was fine. I think the last fight wasn't as climactic as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I felt like there was more emotion in the astral plane. I keep bringing up the astral plane because those are probably my favorite sequences.
Yeah.
Because it's shot beautifully, and in the ideology of it's really great. And reminded me of Avatar. But like those had more heavier weight. And to me, like when you have an opponent who's so close to home, where there's a lot of emotions rising and all of it, obviously he is a physical combatant and an equal, if not superior. But there should have been, I wish there would have been more dialogue, there would have been more sequences between T'Challa and Killmonger, other than like, I know who you are, imprison him. He almost killed me, now I gotta take him.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. There was less of them talking until the very end. It's like, isn't it dumb that a kid from Oakland wants to see the sunset?
There should have been like he arrives and then like they're like, all right, tomorrow evening we'll fight. And then like they could have had,
a dinner,
or
a really
something
awkward dinner.
Yeah, where they could like talk about it and like they can get some perspective and have.
Well, I think that maybe have been the issue, that they would have got perspective.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I hate to say it, but like honestly, the 30 seconds that they did talk, they clicked. And
good point.
So I think it would have been hard to write around that, because T'Challa's whole thing is that he understands him. When he's in the spirit world talking to his dad, he's like, he's right.
You're wrong for that.
Yeah. Which I mean, again, is why I don't think they could. I mean, they could have, but I think it would have been a very quick conversation of, this is how I feel. And he'd been like, shit, I get it.
Yeah. And scene.
It's like, hey, how about you just lead the war dogs? Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think those are my main things, is what are those? And then the second act I felt was a little too short.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, it was good. I like it. I like it a lot.
Joshua, it's a little high every time.
I'm just going to start there and then go low.
I think I really like this movie.
No.
And then
I really, let me first preface with saying I love the movie.
Preface?
Let me preface.
You don't have to. We're going to talk about how much we loved it in a minute.
I love the movie. It was a little slow at first. For like, when I say at first, I mean for a good half of the movie.
Oh, okay.
For a little bit more. I felt like it was a little
You didn't like all the car commercials in the movie?
I mean, no, but here's the thing.
You
is
don't
it's
like
like
the Casino Royale?
that's coming from the little kid in me that's like, okay, I need more. There wasn't a lot of like, when he was having his, this is what I thought was going to happen. He was going to have his ceremonial, like they were leading up to this, him becoming Black Panther. They were having the
CG waterfall.
Yeah, and then they were having the we are not going to challenge or whatnot. I thought somebody was going to show up. I thought he was going to lose. I'd be like, cool. There's some, this is what this movie's going to be about. Him coming back. He gets defeated and blah, blah, blah. That happened way later in the movie.
on.
And I was like, I expected that scene to happen much sooner in the movie. And I'm not saying that this is a Kwame call. I'm just saying like, there didn't seem to be a lot of
Conflict for him.
conflict. I was
He was
like,
kind of like, I'm just chilling on my thing. And
I'm going to
like-
do this.
Like his biggest conflict
And he
was like,
did it.
I don't know how to be a good king. And then there's that one bit, it's like, we don't need a warrior, we need a king. And that was it. But he's like, we're going with the mission. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I can see where you mean. Like there's other characters that talk about like, hey, I think we should do this with the vibranium. We should do that with the world. And there's a talk of like, when we bring in our refugees, they bring in their problems. But you don't get to see him actually struggle with it. You see him take the information in,
Yeah.
but you don't get to see him struggle. I think that's what you mean. Like,
I just feel like the conflict for T'Challa didn't really start truly presenting itself, like the true like plot
the
moving
movie.
forward until much, much later in the movie when we are starting to get the fight between, not the fight, but we're starting to get like, oh shit, Killmonger is in Wakanda and all this shit starts happening. I just felt like it was very like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being a little kid in the
No,
moment.
it's
I was
fine.
like,
No, man.
No.
There wasn't enough shiny things, guys.
That's okay.
there's at least,
no.
There's at
The
least
action
one
scenes are
other
very
person
quick.
says it.
Yeah.
Like in like the beginning action scene, very quick.
Yeah. Not
you know,
saying that it was
ceremonial
boring.
battle.
I was just saying that it was a little like, okay.
Yeah.
A
All
little
right.
more conflict is all.
Yeah, I wanted to see a little bit more
Stakes
conflict.
a little higher earlier.
Earlier on in the film. And then it was like conflict. right in your face.
The next 45 minutes are going to be pure conflict.
Yeah.
I had a couple. The big one for me was believing, and it's kind of like a two-parter where like I don't believe Denai's character would have like just wholeheartedly supported her new king.
Yeah.
Oh, the general.
Yeah, she, like, I really enjoyed her character. Her fight scenes were awesome. She can do a lot with a spear,
Yeah.
as we've established. But I don't feel like she, and it kind of goes with the whole overarching, like, it was a little hard to believe that they would, even though he has the blood right, to challenge him, like, post him being crowned or whatever, like, post that ceremony, if he wasn't there for it, you know, it's kind of like speak now or forever hold your peace. Like, you can't come 2 weeks later and be like, I disapprove.
Yeah.
So, and then like on that level and on the level of like, well, he's like quote unquote a bad guy, or maybe they haven't realized that part yet. But I just found it a little difficult to believe that they would just accept him to be the new king, just like that, and burn the flowers, and they just kind of like
Just let it happen.
just let it all happen.
Well, I think
know?
I can see that.
It's very minor. But it was
the cool
it was
thing-
just there.
thing about the film and like analyzing the script, right? Like they wrote it in such a way where they wrote the rules. They wrote the rules that his specialty is to overthrow governments.
Yeah.
So once he learned how the government structure was, he found its weaknesses. He found that the king is absolute and he could become a tyrant.
And they have a tradition, like if you go into the ceremonial battle, and
It's
in their minds, he won because they saw T'Challa being thrown.
But what
into a
happened?
crevice.
Show me the body. They didn't listen to this
Yeah.
podcast.
Nope.
Wakandans, listen to this podcast. Show me the body. You ain't gonna lose no king no more. I'm telling you.
But it was very minor. It wasn't. It was just kind of in the back of my head, being like, I don't like.
I was
and
in
then
the
the
same
series
vein,
of events
yeah.
following that of like the general like being
Because she
being
is
okay
so
with it.
like she supports T'Challa like 100%.
yeah.
She's
and
even
then-
his friend.
Yeah. And then this guy comes in, takes his position, so to speak, in their ceremonial fight. So in their mind, there's this tradition
Yeah.
that it's like, well, he's the king.
And as soon as she finds out that he's alive, she realizes that.
Then she realizes, comes to her
yeah.
senses.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm an asshole.
Well, not even that. It's like if Killmonger would have fought him one-on-one in battle, I think she would have been like, all right, they're going to fight one-on-one. But he sent that army after him, and she's like, what the fuck? You guys are in ceremonial battle still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're a piece of shit.
So I mean, I think if one thing, she would be like the lawful good, right? Like
Yeah.
she like completely is utterly
By the
almost
books.
faulted by the rules of the world that she lives in.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of sucks because then whoever's king is gonna just
Yeah.
wreck shit.
But yeah, that was kind of like just a minor thing. And then the
but you
other,
got some big shit coming up.
no, I actually don't. That's the great thing about this movie is that I don't really have any major qualms. But my other thing is like hashtag Vibranium Ex Machina,
I know.
where it's like it was a little
MacGuffin-y.
like one step too far into being like this was the like
The end all
her-
be
her-
all reasons.
Her like starting to explain how it works with the trains, but then like not really explaining how it works with the trains. It's
So,
like,
okay.
just because it's made of vibranium, all of a sudden it just like means that it can
it works better.
can make trains go
That
forward.
means humans could heal faster.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it was funny the moment I saw that, when I saw that panel go down, and I was like, insert plot point, please. And I was like, the moment, and that's the thing about a cut and an insert, the moment you show me some, it's gonna mean something.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guarantee this is gonna fucking matter with the end fight or some bullshit.
Mhm.
And then it happened. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really it for me.
Dope.
Wow.
Now, for all of the love of Wakanda,
Oh, man.
love you, love.
Do we have another hour?
Soundtrack.
Soundtrack.
Soundtrack?
Soundtrack was phenomenal.
So
Phenomenal.
soundtrack and original score.
Yeah.
Both great.
Yeah.
Like that again, when the violins swell every moment when like something happens, it's like it makes you hold your breath. You're like, oh, something's gonna happen. And it's like so good. Like when T'Challa first sees his dad and he kneels down and he's like, I'm sorry. And then his dad just says, like, stand up, you're a king. And then the da-da-da, and I was like, oh,
Yep.
this is an emotional sequence. I feel it now.
Yep.
Like you got me the buy-in with the exposition. Now the music is coming in for the kill. So I like that a lot.
The use of purple and pink.
purple and pink.
Yeah.
The colors and throughout the whole movie was just
Great.
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so I talked a little bit earlier. I love suits. Whenever a new superhero gets a suit, Tom gets a bonus.
Tom is
Tom's
happy.
ready.
It goes the film score goes up 0.1. 0.1%. Like I'm like, Dark Knight Rises. That's why I said a 5.1.
Yeah, fair enough.
But this one I was like, oh, he gets two. He gets three. Oh, he has 3 suits. And you got that gold one, that gold trim. That's why I just love video games. You know, you get different skins all the time. I was like, when you're seeing a hero get a new suit, it's kind of like you kind of feel a little bit like this hero's grown because like now that they have it. And so that's
They're in a different world. They have grown.
I mean, new clothes, new look.
Yeah.
And I mean,
phone, who dis?
that's why I kind of compared it to Dark Knight, where one of the first things that happens, he gets a brand new suit,
Yeah.
and it has new tech and
3
lots of
buttons
new
is a
things.
little 90s, Ms. Dwayne.
It's like, so you want to
pulling
turn
out
your
of the
head.
driveway a little easier.
Exactly. So yeah, it showed, and it included a power that wasn't shown in Civil War, where it can redistribute
Kinetic energy.
force. So
Yeah, that was really neat.
Who is he, Gambit?
I know. That was cool. I did like the usage of the Wonders. The opening sequence with the kids playing basketball is a Wonder. The casino fight's a Wonder. Obviously, it's stitched together, so it's a supposed Wonder because they have CG in there.
It's like a Birdman Wonder.
Yeah.
One shot.
One
Okay,
shot, yeah.
got it.
One
Just
shot.
never
Casino.
heard that. Got it.
Yeah.
It's movie lingo, Josh.
That's my
Get with it.
Let me learn you some. Yeah.
that's my favorite.
Something
part of
Ryan
the
Coogler
movie
told
is
Tom once.
casino sequence.
Is the casino sequence, the fight
That's
sequence
great.
there.
That was a lot of
kind of
fun.
like it's. I think it was stitched together, like you were saying, but
Yeah.
just like following her down and then following him back up. Like that was really cool.
And then Andy Serkis like, I made it rain, and I'm like, oh my god, like that was
He's
such
great,
an
though.
Interesting, like
He looked like he was having a blast making the movie.
Yeah,
Like,
I think he was.
that's what I really appreciate.
Because they're like, he's like, they get to see my face. I think that was a main
He
big
buffed
part
out.
of it.
Man.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Well, I love
out.
the like. Why didn't you just shoot him over here? It's like we gotta scatter the crime scene to make us look more like amateurs. I was like,
Yeah.
you can tell me that's made out of vibranium. It's like, nah, I'm just feeling it.
Yeah,
Like,
that was good.
And the cool thing about this movie, that it has a lot of good moments, but they're pretty well deserved. So like every sequence with Killmonger when he makes his speeches, and just talking about the filmmaking in itself, like one sequence is a trademark in the Avengers is Joss Whedon's when the world goes upside down shot when in Avengers, and you see the spear and the crane oversees the entire like crew of the Avengers, and then it lands on an upside down shot of the crew with the spear like glowing.
Yeah.
Showing the world is not really where it's supposed to be. Blah blah.
Ryan Coogler did this when he took the throne.
When he took the throne, like they did a complete reversal of how things are going to be run. So it was cool. Also, shout out to what's the actor that was in Get Out? Like
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the other leader.
the general, of the other
you would
tribe.
kill me for Wakanda, my love,
like
without question.
I was like, ooh, but I mean, he was really,
Daniel Kaluuya.
yeah, he was
When he
dope.
finally knelt down at the end.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing like with
I liked their
Yes.
shields a lot.
with the war horns, yeah, the shields are super dope. I mean, sorry, I'm like taking all the love.
No.
on it, but-
I think
no.
we're just having a free for all at this point.
I love that beginning animation. I know that I already said that, but I love that beginning animation. It's kind of like when you watched when you saw the Deathly Hallows animation.
Oh, with
and
the 3.
just you just kind of watch it and you're like, oh man, this would be. But it also kind of reminded you remember those toys when you were a kid that were magnetic?
Yeah, with
And
the hand, and you put your face in it.
Well, but no, like the when you would form the guy's like facial hair, it was magnetic.
Yeah, it was,
Oh.
It was like magnetic filament.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yep.
But also, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Hellboy, Golden Army, right?
Oh yeah.
Like funny and like an interesting animation. But the cool thing that they utilized the same like texture to make it look like the black sand, so it looked like the same technology that Shuri was using in her lab.
Right.
I would say that what I'm loving about movies nowadays, and it is the I know that we make fun of me about this, that I go to see a movie to enjoy it, but it's like it's so much fun to see where movies are at now and what they can do from a CGI standpoint and from an imagination standpoint for technology. They're like, whoa, what if they had a device that could do this? It's like the in Shuri's lab,
The thing
how
that can create the vehicle.
and then he pulls it out and he's like looking
He
at
dusts
it
it
and
off.
I mean, it's just so like, you're like, whoa, that is so like the imagination that filmmakers can now have and be like, I want to try this. And CGI artists are like,
Sure.
cool. And they just do it. And I just,
How many
I
millions?
loved how he flew the plane and drove the car. She
Yeah.
drove the car. I think that was brilliant. I loved that.
The choreography, just in any of the fight scenes, and just watching Black Panther move. I mean, it is just baller. Oh, the crash scene was pretty fun. When they she lands just so fucking cool, and then
she puts the shield through the car door and rides it all the way down, and then she comes up just in the seat.
It's a good laugh moment.
Yeah. Again, and those are some of the moments I felt like were slightly
the world
deserved.
is watching.
Yeah. Which was also really cool that I liked the line he says, every breath you take is mercy. It's purely taken from the story arc where it's actually really cool when they reintroduced Black Panther to the Marvel comic books. His first arc was pretty much like a political drama where he was having to struggle for the throne, and the people of Wakanda was starting to lose faith in their leader, him.
Yeah.
And one of the lines is he's talking to someone that's starting a rebellion in Wakanda, and then he says speak to me, tell me what you're doing. He's like, every breath you take is mercy for me. And I was like, oh shit, that's from that.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool.
Fun fact: what came first, Black Panther or Black Panther movement?
I know the answer to this, so I won't say it.
I don't know.
Black Panther the comic book came first
by 6 months, 4 months.
Whoa.
And what was so funny as I was reading is that they changed, because they didn't want there to be any confusion. They changed Black Panther comic to Black Leopard for a little while. And nobody liked it, and they eventually went back. But it was anyway.
Yeah,
fun fact.
Also, fun fact: after Civil War, Mr. Fantastic and Susan Storm took different sides of the war, and then after the war was over, they still married, so they end up leaving to go to marriage counseling, and then Black Panther and Storm took over in the Fantastic Four.
Another
so
fun
you had
fact.
Black Panther and Storm, and then the Thing and Human Torch.
Interesting.
One more fun fact.
Fun facts galore.
T'Challa's father, played by John Connie. I'm sorry,
Young version?
those actors. The young version is his son, his actual son.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, wow, they did really great casting. That's why.
And I would say that's also a credit to the director, Mr. Coogler. I think he does some really fantastic casting.
Oh.
I mean, obviously, you couldn't recast Chadwick Boseman because he was already.
Does he capture because you're familiar with the comic book? He does not capture Black Panther's energy.
Black Panther's also part of the Avengers Illuminati.
Okay.
Am I revealing a secret? But the Illuminati is composed of Xavier, Tony Stark, Namor, Black Bolt, the smartest minds in the Marvel universe.
Okay.
And Black Panther is in and the cool thing about spread between them, which is probably going to happen in Phase 4, spread between all of those members, they all have one Infinity Stone.
That's dope.
Oh, interesting.
And Wakanda and T'Challa, I forget which one he has, but he has one. But he's
I thought it was supposed to be the Soul Stone.
him. Yeah, he probably does. Have
And
it.
in the movie, I thought we were going to see it, but we didn't see it.
No, it's not. Which maybe brings back Eric Killmonger. Again, my hope is that the Soul Stone could bring back all the characters I wish would come back, or bring up all the villains and all the villains kill all the characters, and then Avengers 4 happens. And anyways, but no, T'Challa, and he's like a king, so he's not as like a young prince becoming a king. He's like, I'm rightfully here, and like there's been instances where like Steve Rogers in World War II like found out the Nazis were coming to invade Wakanda, so he went to go to Wakanda and fight them off, and realizing that the Black Panther took care of all the Nazis 3 days earlier, fights Black Panther. Black Panther whoops the shit out of Captain America, and in Wakanda and Black Panther, he's just like, yo, get the fuck off my land. Like, you don't belong here.
That's awesome.
He's like kind of an asshole. He's like, stay away from us. Like, we don't like you. We'll fight you and we'll kill you.
Mhm.
And he's very much like in that very, extreme sense. So it's cool to see him in this more grown, mature, humanitarian way.
Yeah, but definitely not.
Not in your dad, not your grandpa Tom's Black Panther. So
There you go.
Okay.
But I'm totally cool with it. And again, like for me, into all the diehards, I think there's no
At least it's being made, like you'll always
exactly.
say.
There's no excuse. Like at least it's being made, but also at least it's also sending a positive message.
Yeah.
Right.
Should we rate it?
We have to rate it.
We have to
rate
I
rate
just
it.
meant is now the time.
We rate
I
everything.
think now is the time.
Feels good.
Who wants to go first? I'll go first.
Do it.
I'll do it. For me,
It's always a very serious moment when we're about to
know.
rate something. I feel like we're really.
I thought I had
okay,
it.
hold on. I got money on Ollie being the grandpa.
Yeah? What am I gonna say then?
I think you're gonna say 4.2.
Fuck you. That's actually what I was thinking. Holy shit. Yeah, 4.2. All
We're
right.
like brothers, but closer.
Wow. That was trippy. I was like, I've never done a point before. I think I might have to. Yeah, 4.2.
Josh.
I'm soaking. I'm thinking
You're
because
oozing?
it's going between a couple of numbers.
Okay. It's obviously between 1 and 5.
It's undulating. No, it's above
Good
4.
use of that word.
But it's
No, it's between
undulating.
0 and 1.
Oh,
damn!
No.
Oh God, I am gonna be pressured. Wow, Ollie, the look Ollie is giving me. I wish everybody could. And now Corey's sass face.
Ollie just turned to a Powerpuff Girl where his eyeballs
Suspense is killing me.
took over his third of his
It's
face.
it's going between 4.2 and 4.5.
Okay.
Okay.
So why don't we just split it even 4.3?
4.3.5.
Okay, God.
There we go. Okay.
4.35.
4.35.
No.
4.5, Josh.
4. Fuck you guys. 4.4.
Okay. Who's next?
I give it an F.
Ooh. For
Point.
fan-tastic.
4.4?
4.4.
All right.
Yeah, we're 4.4.
He's the high.
Are you going to be the Grandpa Tom?
No. I think you're the grandpa.
What?
That's okay.
Because
Is
I
that a
give it.
first?
I
No,
give
that's
it.
not a first.
I give it a 4.3. No,
You son of a bitch.
No, 4.4.
I thought I was going to
Okay.
be a grump.
No, 4.4.
It was me somehow, and I love the movie. I had one qualm. All
I
right.
have 4.4. I mean, the thing, those big things I talked about, the what are those, and that second act.
We need to get
are
a
really
little
big.
bit more specific in our rating system
It
in a
gets
way
tough.
because we said what 5 means, and everybody at home knows what a 5 means.
Won't change
you
it.
won't change
Won't change
anything.
a thing.
So that means we all have 0.6 that we would want to change.
So for me,
I have 0.8 apparently.
You have 0.8. So
in the 4 category, these are like masterpieces.
Yeah.
Masterpieces where like this
Because
is
I know I gave Blade Runner a 4, I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is above Blade Runner.
to me when you're in the 4 range, the points are kind of a little bit based on like if I like it a lot, but the 4 range is kind of like when I see the director actually utilize his or her experiences and adept knowledge of filmmaking, and it strikes a tone that surpasses like just phenomenal like objectively, but emotionally. I think this film does that, but it's not like a Dark Knight to me.
Okay.
But it's comparable.
Okay.
I'll put it in the same
comparable.
room. I'll put it in the same room.
I like how Dark Knight has become like a.
Oh, it's the golden standard for me.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah, for sure.
Golden standard for me, baby. Just wait till we do an episode on that for y'all.
It's going to be our 5-hour episode.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah. What did
Yeah.
you think?
What's your rating?
Yes.
Yeah, I would
wanna
love to
hear
know
ratings.
people's ratings. That'd be
We
great.
don't ever get that. We
We
don't
don't,
get
yeah.
everybody else's ratings. I want
We
to hear
always
that.
post on Thursday what the show is. So post under there what your rating was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit us up on Twitter.
I'd love to talk with you, fight you about it.
Yeah.
Fight other things I love.
Do we feel complete?
I do.
I do.
We
feel like it's
talked
good.
about Black Panther.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Okay.
always more to say, but
There is always more to say.
There's
reach out
always-
to us.
There's going to be so
How
many
can
more.
they find how to reach out to us, Josh?
Hashtag Wakanda Forever.
Oh man, I'm so excited to share this. We have a new website.
Boom.
So shiny.
It is.
It's like a new suit. It's like it's got vibranium in the website.
This is our.
It
this is
does.
our point. Our V2 or V2. We'll call it. I
Mach
guess
2.
Mach 2. This is a Nerd on the Podcast Mach 2 website. It's pretty sexy, but everything that you need to know about us is there. It has our merch. It has our social medias. It has everything. A contact page. It has a survey.
links to our other networks and stuff.
Hit them up with that crispy URL.
nerdonthepodcast.com.
Ooh.
And you can find us on Patreon. This show, we love doing this show.
We do.
I love doing this show.
Little known fact.
And would love to do it more. Would love to.
And we can with your help.
We can.
support us.
Yeah.
I love
Patreon.
Become a patron. You get exclusive access to
All
our
sorts of
Discord
fun goodies.
server,
Discord.
chatting it up.
It's like having a group chat.
Yeah.
Right
Exclusive
with us.
access to new
It's
merch.
kind of like the dope shit you get from buying stuff on Fandango.
Yeah.
Like they give you a poster or something like that.
Yeah,
or
I
like
got a
this-
free
yeah.
poster for Black Panther.
Yeah, I love that shit.
And probably one of the coolest features
Yeah.
of becoming a patron. You will have a bonus episode
Yes.
every single month.
Every single month. And sometimes we get like we feel like sexy and we want to do an extra bonus episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, everybody at home, thank you so much for listening. And fun fact, by the time you listen to this, it will have already been Corey's birthday. So send him birthday wishes.
Send him happy
That'd be nice.
birthdays.
So happy birthday from
Slip
future.
and slide into his DMs, Corey89 on
Yep.
Instagram. Slip and slide into them.
As always,
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.